I'm going to show you how to put code into your website. Not like JavaScript code, but like code, like text code. Well, code that doesn't do anything, but just watch the video. All right, so say you want to make a computer code or put computer code into your browser. No, I'm not talking about JavaScript. I'm talking about you just want the symbolic, I guess you would say, text of code in your website. Maybe it's a tutorial website. Maybe you are migrating your old, as a company, textbooks to some kind of, I guess, online representation. You don't want to do the PDF thing because maybe that's a little odd to read. You don't want people to download it, or it's just a lot of work, whatever it may be, but you want to put code on your website. Well, this is the tutorial for you. So it's actually fairly easy to do. We're going to start by doing this. So we're going to indent that in. We'll do KBD, which stands for keyboard here. And so let's do this. And we see that var, my name, and then we're instantiating that, with Bob. So let's come below and let's do this right here. And we could see that it does put var your name equals Bernie. Bernie's my dog, by the way. He's the best thing ever. But this puts it all in one line. And this is not really what we want to do here. Maybe you have a quick one-liner. Maybe you have something that you just want to show this. So how do you go about, keeping the format of what you're typing here to be realized on the browser? And we actually just learned about that. If we wrap all this in the pre-formatted elements here, we could come on in. It's funny that it's not actually moving that on over or auto formatting it. Let's come up here. This is, of course, going to impact what's going on in the middle, but no big deal. And we see that it gets moved over here. So if we were to hit enter there, we still get the benefits of this. We still get the, I believe it's the monospace font. The position is, preserved by the preformatted element here, but we also get the look of the keyboard element, which is pretty cool. All right, so in this section, what we're going to be talking about is the sample code. So say that you want to tell the browser or have some kind of semantic segmentation that you want to say, hey, this piece of text is output from a program. Well, that's pretty easy to do as well. Actually, a lot of these are pretty easy, which is super nice. It's not a lot of work. So say we wanted to have some text that said, if you use a in the command line, you will get, and then we could have so say in your command line, you don't have to know what these things mean. Actually, I just made them up here, but they look like things that you would enter into a command line. So you have, if you use -d instead of a -i, you will, in the command line, you will get, and then it should say, let's put a semicolon there to give it more visual context, error, use -i. And let me bring this over so it kind of goes on one line here. And you can see that this text up to this point here, let me save it because I put that semicolon in, that this all the way up to here is its normal font that you would see for a paragraph tag. But then this visually looks different, which is nice, and that's what you want. So this is what the sample for a, showing an example of what, computer output may look like, or just to give a visual cue for your user what the computer program will output. Yeah, it's pretty useful. For the last segment here, what I'm going to be discussing is the variable element. Now, it's very similar to all of them I've done in this video. They all kind of look the same, feel the same, but once again, it's giving meaning and more context to your website, to your code, and that's pretty, I would say, helpful. And so how do you use it? Let's go ahead and say, how do we add two numbers? By executing, and then we're going to come in here and do var x and let's just do something like this and see the output. And we see here that this looks normal, and then we can see the x and plus y over here. The y kind of does get lost a little bit. It's not wrapped in the variable element, but it kind of plays one of those visual tricks where if something to the left or to the right is stylized differently, and you don't use pluses a whole lot, or maybe it's some character that could be mathematical in context, it looks kind of like it's been altered even though it has not. And so if we wanted to do, something else, maybe we even wanted to come down into here and do, I saw this example online, so I'm ripping this from wherever it was. The area of a triangle is up here. And we can see that there's a slight italicization right here with H. You don't see it, maybe you see it a little bit with the Y. X is a little hard to identify, but we see it right here. This is kind of, reminds you of that LaTeX documentation language if you've ever used it out there. But yeah, this is variables, and this is some of the ways that you could give your page more meaning. We were talking about code, math, variables, those kinds of things. And yeah, like, share, and subscribe, and I appreciate you watching the video.